Well, hello, folks. This is Steve, and welcome to Nacho Father's review of the 2015 Chevrolet Spark. Uh, I guess it's more like an unboxing. I've had the car now for about a week, um, and it has been pretty much a joy overall to experience. I am realistically a gearhead by all practical senses of the word. I have always had muscle cars and things like that. Never really anything super cool. I always believed in the rat rod kind of variety, if you would. So, starting with the first kind of muscle car that I had, 75 Pontiac Formula. Car was not pretty. It was primer gray. Actually, it was silver that had been oxidized so bad it was primer at this point, with stickers on it. And, but me and my dad built that, and it was the first real hands on experience I had with mechanical and developing a love for mechanical. Um, so at this point in my life, definitely not. I am definitely not a tree hugger variety, if you will. Um, I really am just kind of watching my wallet, if you can understand that. Kind of thinking about, bottom line. I had a 5 Series BMW Intel just recently that I just loved. Okay, all wheel drive car, decent power. Car had over 200,000 miles when I got it, had 197,000. And getting out there and, you know, fixing the issues that it had and things brought back the love that I have for mechanical type things. The sad part about that is because I have an implantable defibrillator in my chest for my heart, I'm really not supposed to be doing that kind of thing. And this last injury that I'd gotten, even though it was fairly minor on my finger, I kind of had this I don't know what you'd call it, maybe an enlightenment, if you will. But that's or that kind of thing can actually, at this point, actually kill me. An infection can go from the location of where it starts, so maybe in this finger, and it runs up through your arms, and that, you got they tell you about the red lines and stuff, and as it gets up here to your heart, it's going to kill you. Um, but what happens when you have a implanted device or something like that is that the infection will spread from wherever you get it. So we'll say we cut the finger here, and then it would go through, and instead of going to my heart, it would come over here to my implantable device and would cause an infection there, which I would have to go into the hospital and get that removed, and the cord that goes down into my heart, and I'd have to have that pulled out. And it sounds like a great time. Don't get me wrong. I mean, maybe we should sign up for the holiday stay vacation on this. But overall, what kind of needs to happen here is I need to be a little more careful with what I do in my life, which is why I am no longer working on the pipelines. And this last summer, I worked on my car an awful lot. I put in a new radiator, new hoses. I hurt myself pretty good. Maybe fairly minor compared to most of the injuries I've had in my life and that, but it did open my eyes to what the possibilities were at hand. And now I got a little over 10 days ago, I got another coolant leak. Relatively sure that it was the thermostat in this, which means I have to take the coolant hoses loose again and put in a new thermostat housing. And the next one would be the water pump and so on down the line. But I came to the conclusion that maybe I should just cut ties at this point if I could attain financing. When you get into a medical condition and you aren't financially well to do, it's going to cause problems. Let's just put it that way. So over several years here, I've managed to have some more ups and downs, and I tried out a totally new thing. Decided I was going to go with an electric vehicle or a hybrid vehicle, just because I'm the only one in the car. I commute to work. I'm the only one. Nobody else really rides with me, so I don't need anything like a BMW 5 Series. I really don't. If I could have found one and gotten it financed at this point, I probably would have bought an old Bug. But coming down to it with this car here, the closest thing that I can say is that it really, really reminds me of an air-cooled Volkswagen. The way that it makes me feel when I drive it, I really enjoy the vehicle. It's got power like you cannot believe. And coming from a gearhead, that should mean a lot to you. So anyway, we'll get on down to it. And ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I am going to introduce to you a car that I now affectionately call Sparky. I've had him for about a week, and we're going to go over him and, introduce you. See what you think. Hot rod, muscle car. Absolutely. Let's do it. Electric car? Yeah, I don't know. Electric car, old guy, modern technology. I've got the latest and greatest, cell phone of the time, pop sockets and stuff. Electric car that doesn't break the bank. Let's see what you think. Well, apparently this is the way to buy a car, folks. Comes right to you. Fantastic. Well, hello there, folks. I was sneaking around the frozen Colorado tundra and spied something a little unusual. Sneaking around its unnatural habitat and apparently stealing from the local residents. What could it be? As I walked past, it started to make funny noises. Yes, could it be? Look, there it is, folks. Don't let it see you. It is a 2015 Chevrolet Spark hiding out in front of a house in Colorado. You never see one of those except for in California, brand new, and Washington. What an interesting beast. Small. Oh look, we've caught it. It is stealing from the local residents electricity, apparently. Well, good afternoon, folks. We are going to take a look at the 2015 Chevrolet Spark and give you a little bit of an insight of how those things look. You can pick them up really inexpensive now, so it might be an ideal choice for you if you're looking to go green. I'm not a green kind of person. I am a like to save money on my commute kind of person. So that's how I wound up with this. And I did a bit of research and learned that it's actually a little bit more fun to drive than most of the vehicles on the road today, and that's how we wound up deciding on the Spark. And you know, I just can't say enough about this little guy. It's a pretty awesome little machine. Kind of scary that you have a gearhead gone bad, so to speak. So here we are, a gearhead going with an electric vehicle. Complete electric plug-in vehicle, no range extenders or anything like that. Has on a good day, it's got 82-mile top end range. Average day, I leave the house with about 60. So on the 2015 Chevrolet Spark, up here under the hood, we have a gigantic power plant, which is what? There's no engine? This is apparently an electric motor, folks. It has 150 horsepower, but horsepower really doesn't mean anything. Today's day and age, people are starting to figure it out. But it is the torque that something produces, which is what's going to give you that neck-breaking acceleration. Well, in 2015, this little guy had 327 pound-feet of torque that it came from the factory with. What that means for you is that there's most of you new cars out there, this thing's just gonna rip to shreds, and some of the muscle cars in that as well. It is a full electric plug-in vehicle, and with that, it's feeding right now, as you can tell. I blew up my Beamer the other day, and I actually bought this thing. I've been thinking about getting an EV for commuting to and from work, and I'm rather glad that I did at this point. This little car is a lot of fun to drive. The best thing, or best comparison that I can give it out of all the vehicles that I've driven in my time, is that it is very similar to drive to an early air-cooled VW Bug. This might have about the same room overall as that early Bug as well. Probably the biggest difference is that on this car, the seats on this will fold down. They don't fold flat, and it's probably the way that the seats are designed with the battery pack under it. But that doesn't matter to me, at any rate. It does have power windows. It's a little small. The best part about this one here is I was able to find it in the lime green, which I personally really like on this car. Number one, it sticks out like a sore thumb, kind of like my personality. And this little guy, just put a few hundred miles on him since I've gotten it. Had it for a week now. I've managed to experience pushing its range to the max. And here's what's kind of scary about this little car. It's small. It was built in the Daewoo plant in Korea by by General Motors. I think GM actually bought Daewoo out back many years ago. This thing's got power windows. It has power door locks. It's automatic. Little guy's got a power brake. It's got a sport feature. It's got traction control with active skid control. It's got tilt wheel. It's got push button start. Power windows, door locks. I mean, this one even has the window tint on it. Okay, and you know, it's just a pleasure to drive. It's small. It's nimble. The torque steer on this, if you're accelerating pretty hot and heavy, is just unbelievable. But you know, it is a lot of fun, and I'm closing everything up here so you can get a better look at what the car actually does look like. okay? I know you've seen them. Probably laughed at them. That guy in that Mustang yesterday morning on my commute to work isn't laughing anymore. This just ripped that 5.0 Mustang to shreds. He walked by. He drove by with his mouth hanging open, staring at me, wondering what the hell happened. And then he stepped on it again and blew his doors off again. It was funny. Now the thing is, this car is speed limited at 90 miles an hour for its top end. So with that, it is going to, run out of juice right at 90. And we've had the luxury to find out. Again, let's turn this guy on. Got him plugged in, so we aren't going to be going anywhere. And like I'd said, this is really on the high end of the range for it to get me to and from work. My work is 61 miles round trip. And if I'd quit screwing around and taking people on joyrides, I'd make it to and from. So far, it has cost me about $2 a day to operate. It's really neat. It's got the regen deal here. You can change the display, but it's got the regen. And what the regen is telling you is when it's putting power into the battery, the dots are lighting up that way. And when you're using power, it's going this way. This is kilowatt hour, so when you actually are accelerating, the kilowatt hours on this increase, and then of course your fuel gauge over here decreases, and then this blue ball here, if you get green lights going down this way, you're depleting the battery closer to the 47-mile range, and if they're going the other way, you're getting closer to that 72-mile range, and this constantly adjusts as you go along. Digital readout on the speedometer, so it's kind of futuristic. This thing does have a rear wiper, front wipers, intermittent wipers. This has the turn signals and lights and all that, power mirrors. Now listen to this. Oh, I don't know if it'll let me do it. Nope, plugged in, so it won't. This thing makes interesting noises when you pull the light activation switch on there. You do have a digital radio with AM, FM, XM. It has the Bringo app capabilities. Now, I don't know if I'll ever download the Bringo app because I really don't need navigation. You hit that, and this has got your electric information, charging. You've got additional energy info on this, and then you also have your power flow, and this is showing you where the energy is coming from. So if you got a little green thing flowing over here to the engine or the motor, it is drawing energy from the battery, and if it's coming from the wheels back to, or actually however they do it, it's like to the wheels, back to the motor, back to the battery. It's kind of interesting display. Then it's regenerating electricity. It's all touchscreen. You've got tutorials, you've got power diagrams. It tells you everything what's going on. It's a silly looking car, but it drives it just drives really comfortable, and I got it for a commuter, so it doesn't really matter to me that it's small. And here's the best part about it, is this car went for about, well, they were priced out at about $27,000 brand new for the 2LT trim package, which this is. Somebody else laid out the 30 grand for it. It looks like they put about 21,000 miles on the car, and when they got done with it, I was able to buy it, and I give about 12,000 for this one. So at any rate, if you are interested in how this little guy goes, I'll do another video on this here before too long on how it actually drives. And, you know, I cannot say enough about it. I'm really, really impressed with this vehicle. I'm not a very well-off person. I fight for most of everything that I've got. And you know what? This guy here is going to realistically save me a bit of money to drive to and from work. $2 a day versus, you know, $9, $10 a day plus maintenance is just, you know, outstanding.